Hello, beautiful people. My name is Karabo Sitole, and I'm a student from the University of Vets. So, in today's video, we will be writing a past paper together. I must acknowledge that this past paper is not my own, but it rather belongs to the University of Witwatersrand, mainly to the School of Economics and Finance. So, the first question says, which of the following is or are an example of a positive statement? So they are asking about a positive statement. So in your head, it should be ringing that whatever statement they are talking about should be testable, right? So the first statement says it is good. So the key term here is that they are saying it is good. So it is good to be a student because you never get approached for loans. So for the very fact that they included the term good, this is based on what someone thinks is good. I might think it's not, I might think it's bad. Hence, this is a normative statement. The second statement says some businesses offer discounts to students. If we go and test this, I will be able to arrive at the same answer as you would. So this is a positive statement. It must be a challenge. It must be a challenge to be a working graduate because everyone will ask for your money. This is based on what someone thinks. I might think it's not a challenge. I might think it's a good thing, etc. So this is a normative statement. Some businesses do not offer discounts to students. I can go and test this and you can go and test this and we arrive at the same answer. So the correct answer is II and IV. So you go to your options and you check which option is II and IV, and it is B. Okay, the South African government should, they said should, they are emphasizing it. It is a statement of what ought to be. So the full statement says the South African government should increase the minimum wage to 25 Rand per hour. So for the very fact that they said should, they are telling us what they think the government should do. So this is a normative statement. If the South African Reserve Bank doubles the interest rate, the prices of houses will fall. This statement is a statement that you can test. You can go and test what happens when the interest rate increases. Do the prices of houses fall or do they increase? If you go and test that and I go and test that, we'll arrive at the same answer. So the statement is a positive statement. So the correct answer is C. Normative and positive statements. Okay, number 3, which of the following statements below is correct if MP is equal to MC? So MP stands for marginal benefits. Marginal benefits equal to marginal cost. So when the marginal benefit is equal to the marginal cost, you get allocative efficiency. So the point where the MP is equal to the MC, that's where you get allocative efficiency. I discussed this when I was doing the PPF. So please do check that video to understand more on MP and MC. But anyways, the first statement says we have allocative efficiency. I just said that when the MP is equal to the MC, that's the point of allocative efficiency, because you are allocating your resources in the best way possible in order to ensure that the society gains full benefit from those resources. The second statement says we are producing at a point above the PPF. That is not true. Remember that this is a point where the MP is equal to the MC and it is allocative efficient. When you are allocative efficient, it means that you are already productive efficient. So you are already producing on the PPF, but not just on the PPF, but on the best point possible on your PPF. The next point says we are producing at the point on the PPF that we value above all other points. This is what I just said. It is correct. We have productive efficiency. That is correct. We are producing at a point below the PPF. A point below the PPF means that we are productive inefficient. And if we are allocative efficient, means we are productive, efficient. So this point means that we are productive, inefficient. This point means it is unattainable. So our correct answer is an answer that has I, triple I, and IV. So it is D. Okay, number 4. The table below represents the quantity of chocolates and cell phones that can be produced per labor in France and China. So we are going to, just scan through what the question is asking. The question is asking for absolute advantage, also asking about comparative advantage, international trade, etc. So this is a question of gains of trade. Gains from trade, but mainly focusing on comparative advantage and absolute advantage. So for this question, I'm going to use my book so that you guys can see the calculations. Just want to make sure you can still see properly. Okay, I'm not sure how to work around it, but okay. Let's try. So I'll just put the page right here and read what I'll just read it out loud so that you guys can hear what I'm saying. So we are on number 4. So country, for the countries that we have, so you have country, which is France and China, number of chocolates and cell phones. So as I said, write chocolates and write cell phones, which is what we are going to do. So we are going to say chocolates and we are going to say cell phones, right? And then I want you to write the name of the countries. So you have France, and you have China. Okay, so when you're calculating the opportunity cost of chocolates, chocolate will go on your denominator. When you're calculating the opportunity cost of cell phones will go on your denominator. So let's do just that. So France, we are calculating the opportunity cost of chocolates. France is producing 20 chocolates and 400 cell phones. So it's 400 over 20. 400 cell phones divided by the 20 chocolates that they are producing. China, on the other hand, produces 4 chocolates and 240 cell phones. We are calculating the opportunity cost of chocolates. So chocolates have to go on your denominator. So it's 240 divided by 4. 240 divided by 4. Now we come to cell phones. We are calculating the opportunity cost of France. Cell phones have to go on your denominator. So it's 20 over 400 and 4 over 240. It's basically the inverse of this. So it's going to be 20 over 400 and 4 over 240. And then you use your calculator to find what those values are. And you get 20. 240 divided by 4, you get 60. So you're going to have 1 over 20 and 1 over 60. So 1 over 20, that is 0.05. 1 over 60, on the other hand, is 0.02. So now you have to ask yourself, which value is smaller here? This value is smaller. So France has a comparative advantage in the production of chocolates. And then cell phones, which value is smaller? This one. So China has a comparative advantage in the production of cell phones. Now that we have done our calculations, we come back to our question. The first question says France has an absolute advantage in chocolates. To have an absolute advantage means you are producing more than the other person. So France does have an absolute advantage in the production of chocolates. However, it continues to say that and China has an absolute advantage in the production of cell phones. So we go to cell phones and we check who is producing more. 400 units corresponds to France. So France is is producing more than China, meaning that France has an absolute advantage in both cell phones and chocolates. So this is wrong. France has an absolute advantage in both computers and apples. There are no computers here. So, and they are saying that they should specialize in both. False. China has a comparative advantage in chocolates. China has a comparative advantage in chocolates and should therefore export chocolates to France. China has a comparative advantage in chocolates. We see that that's a lie because France has a comparative advantage in chocolates. So we cross that out as well. This example offers no basis for international trade between. Wrong. France has a comparative advantage in chocolates and should therefore export chocolates to China. So France has a comparative advantage in chocolates. That is true. So the correct answer is E. Okay, so we just finished 1 to 4. Yeah, questions I'm going to skip because they had errors. So number 5 says that use the table below to answer your question 5 and 6. The table below lists 6 production possibilities for cell phones and computers as follows. If we move from point B all the way to C, the opportunity cost of one computer is. So they are talking about a computer. So when we calculate the opportunity cost of computers from B to C, right, it's going to be 1 minus 2 on our denominator all over 14 minus 12. 14 minus 12. We get an answer of divided by -1, which is -2. So we are getting an answer of -2. What I have to say is that opportunity cost when you are looking at a PPF will normally be negative. Reason being that in order to increase one of the goods, you have to decrease the other goods. So you'll always have an increase faced with a decrease, or a decrease faced with an increase, leading to a negative answer. So if you see that all the answers given are positive, just ignore the sign. So you'll take the absolute value of 2, which is 2. So and then they talk about if we move from point F to E, the opportunity cost of one cell phone is. So they are talking about cell phones. Cell phones have to go on the denominator. Opportunity cost of cell phones is equal to, they said from F to E, so 0 minus 5 over 5 minus 4. 5 minus 4. So the answer is over minus 5, -1 over 5, right? So take the absolute value of this and you get that the correct answer is 2 and 1 over 5. So the correct answer is A. Right, I hope you guys can still see clearly. Number 6 says, which of the following statements below is or are correct? The opportunity cost of computers is increasing. So to do this, you would have to calculate the opportunity cost of computers. How do you calculate the opportunity cost of computers? It's the whatever change you're having in the cell phones over the change in the computers, right? Okay, and then this is also talking about opportunity cost. There is a trade-off between when we move, there's a trade-off when we move from one production possibility point to another. Okay, this is correct. Whenever you move on a PPF, so you have a PPF, right? Whenever you move on a PPF to move from A to B, you have to decrease your quantity of A in order to produce more of B. So there's always a trade-off that you face. There's always something you lose in order to move from one point to another. The opportunity cost of cell phones is constant. The opportunity cost of cell phones is increasing. So I'm just going to teach you a very important skill when you are working with multiple choice questions. So it's called elimination. Probably you guys know it, but like this is how you use it. You know, you are sure that your answer should have triple I. So you go to your options and you check which options have triple I, and the options that do not have triple I, you cancel them immediately. So this option is out, this option is out. So now you are left with I, triple I, IV, I, triple I, triple I. Okay, so you check. So in this option, okay, either way, I was looking for either an option that had, okay, here's an option that has that. So you have an option that has I and I, right? That's the only option that has like two things. So you will test whether I is correct. So it is saying that the opportunity cost of computers is increasing. So let's calculate the opportunity cost of computers from A to B, B to C. So from A to B, opportunity cost of computers is what? From A to B, it is 15 minus 14 over 0 minus 1. I think this thing of calculators has really made us doubt our mental math, because I know what the answer is, but I want to do it on the calculator. Take the absolute value of this. So the first one is 1. From B to C would be 14 minus 12 over 1 minus 2, absolute value of minus 2, right? So from these two things, you are seeing that it's moving from 1 to 2, right? So it is increasing. So the opportunity cost of computers is increasing. So whatever option that has I, that does not have I in it is wrong. So this option is out. So now you have to choose between this option and this option. The difference between these options is that it has IV and this one does not have IV. So now you need to test whether this statement is correct. The opportunity cost of cell phones is constant. So opportunity cost of cell phones, so let's move from A to B. From A to B, opportunity cost of cell phones is 0 minus 1 all over 15 minus 14, which will just give us negative 1. From B to C, you will have 1 minus 2 all over 14 minus 12, which will give you, okay, you guys can still see, minus 2 divided by 2. Minus 1 over 2. So you guys can see that these are two different values, so it is not constant. So any answer that has IV is incorrect. So the only correct answer is E. Alrighty. And then we move on to number 7. I'm tired, you guys, yo. But like number 7, rugby, Ruby. Yeah, I'm feeling so sleepy. So I'm recording at probably 10 o'clock now, 10 p.m. Anyways, Ruby and Paul are the only participants in the market. So we only have Ruby and Paul in this market for vegan steaks. Ruby's supply of vegan steak is given by this thing. So Ruby is our supplier and Paul's demand for vegan. So Paul is our demander. Calculate the equilibrium price and quantity in the given markets. So whenever they say equilibrium, it is where the supply meets the demand. So you will have 10 plus 1,5p is equal to 140 minus 0,5p. And then you solve this. So when you solve this, you will have 2p is equal to 130. And then p is equal to 130. Divide by 2, 65. So the price is 65. Now you need to find out what the quantity is. So you can substitute into either of the equations given. Let's just substitute in the QD. So you have 140 minus 0,5, 65. So 140 minus 0.5, 65. You get that your answer is 107.5. So in these options that I'm given, the correct answer is B. Great. Number 8 says, consider the diagram below. If point A, here's point A, if point A is the initial point of equilibrium and the expected future price of petrol increases. So we are dealing with so this is the industry for petrol. So this is price of petrol, quantity of petrol. So if point A is the initial point, S0, right, and D0. If point A is the initial point of equilibrium and it is not changing now, and the expected future price of petrol increases. So if you expect that something will increase in the future, as a consumer, you want to buy more of that good now, right? It's because of the law of demand and supply. The higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. So because it will be more expensive in the future, you will demand more of it. You will demand less of it in the future and demand more of it today. I will repeat. If something is expected to cost more in the future, you will demand less of that thing in the future and demand it more today because it is at a lower price. If someone tells you that, just like how people were like, okay, this example is very irrelevant, but yeah. So if you expect that the prices of fuel are going to increase in the next 15 days, you're going to buy more of petrol today. If bread is going to increase tomorrow, you'll buy 2 breads today, right? You buy more of that thing today. So demand today, we are looking at today, right? So today demand will increase. However, what will happen to supply? According to the law of supply, the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. So if the price will be higher in the future, supply will increase in the future. But because the price is lower today than it will be in the future, supply will decrease. Today, supply will decrease. So let's look at the shifts in our demand curve. So the initial point is A. We have an increase in demand. How does demand increase? It has an outward shift. So we are now on D1. So any point that has D1 is our potential answer. However, supply will also decrease, right? So we are on D1, but supply will also decrease. How does supply? Remember, we are moving from S0, moving from D0. So from D0 to D1, we are now on D1. What will supply do? Supply will decrease. How does supply decrease? By shifting inward, right? We're looking at S1. How did S1 shift inward? And where did it go to? Went to S2. So we have D1, we move to D1 and to S2. So our point is C. So D1 and S2. Our answer is C. Okay, and then we look at the next question, question 9, which says the following successive events take place in the market for vegetarian food. Beyonce, a prominent influencer, markets the benefits of her preferred vegetarian diet. If an influencer markets your product, more of that product will be bought. So demand will increase. More restaurants, they continue to tell us that this happened. More restaurants have started to offer more vegetarian alternatives on their menu. So they are offering more. So quantity supply actually is increasing. So supply is also increasing. The individual incomes of vegetarian consumers are expected to rise. Consumers are able to buy more. So this will also rise. So I'm going to share a video tomorrow where I'm explaining what happens when you have two moves, when both the demand and the supply are moving, which one is determinate and which one is indeterminate. But to summarize it here, when both the demand and the supply, when they move in the same direction, right? Or demand and supply, when they move in the same direction, quantity is going to change. We know it's going to change. However, we say that price is indeterminate. I'm not sure if my spelling is right, so yeah, forgive me for that. Yep, we all human. So the price will be in dirty minutes. The quantity is definitely going to change. If they move in opposite directions, if one increases while the other decreases, the price is going to change, but the quantity is going to be in dirty minutes. So in this case, they say that there would be an indeterminate change in equilibrium price and quantity. Wrong. Only the price will be indeterminate, right? Okay, I was in the right direction. Okay, there will be an indeterminate change in equilibrium price and quantity. So this is not correct. It's only price that is indeterminate. Indeterminate means we are not able to tell the change. You're not able to come to a conclusion of whether it will increase or decrease. It's just confusing. So we just conclude that it is indeterminate. There would be, there would be a definite increase in the equilibrium price. False. There would be an indeterminate change in equilibrium price. So this is wrong. There would be a definite increase in the equilibrium price. False. There would be an indeterminate change in the equilibrium price and a definite increase in the equilibrium quantity. That is true. Let's look at why this is wrong. There will be a definite decrease in equilibrium quantity and a definite increase. Okay, false, because price is indefinite. It is indeterminate, sorry. Number 10 does not make sense. Something is missing in it, so I'm going to skip number 10. Go on to number 11. So number 11 says, an increase in price reduces the quantity demanded because of the income and substitution effects. Yes, the income and the substitution effect actually explain the law of demand, right? So if you don't understand what this means, please watch my video. I did explain the income and substitution effects. So an increase, okay, so this is correct. The law of demand states that all other things remaining the same, the higher the price of a good, the smaller is the quantity demanded, and the higher the price of a good, and the lower the price of a good, the greater is the quantity demanded. This is correct. The law of supply states that all other things remaining the same, the higher the price of a good, the smaller the quantity demanded. This is wrong. First of all, they said smaller, and secondly, they said quantity demanded. You can't mix quantity supplied and quantity demanded. And also, the law of demand actually states that ceteris paribus, meaning that holding everything else constant, the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied, and the lower the price, the lower the quantity supplied, right? So this is wrong. A technological change that lowers the cost of production increases supply. This is true. If you can produce something at a lower cost, you're going to produce more of that good. So this is also correct. Sometimes you find that you think something is correct, but then you come to your options and it's not making sense. So elimination comes in handy. You look at the points you think are correct and you choose the best of them all. So the point that we are sure about, let's just say you forgot about income and substitution effects, but you are sure about the law of demand. So you go here and you are like, which one has II? So E and B have II, right? And then you are like, okay, so between B and E, which one should I choose? Okay, look at E. It has three things that need to be, three things that you have to look at. So it's saying I, an increase in price, talking about income and substitution effects, and then IV. So between these two, you should check whether any of them make sense, and in our case they do, right? So E is correct. Joe's cheap roll special on Wednesday has a price elasticity, okay, price elasticity of demand of 1,8 when the percentage change in quantity demanded is 4. What is the percentage change in the price of cheap roll on Wednesday? So I'm going to definitely do a video on elasticity, but basically PED, which is the price elasticity of demand, is percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in the price. So they gave us the PED and they told us it's 1,8. This is equal to percentage change in quantity is 4 It is given as 4, and we are looking for this. So let's just name it x. So we are going to multiply 1,8 by x and then divide 4 by 1,8 to have x. So it's 4 divided by 1,8. Then you get 2,22. Okay, remember that, okay, there's something I also have to mention. Remember the law of demand and of demand. It says that the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. So the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. So meaning that when this one is positive, this one has to be negative, because as this one increases, this one has to decrease. Okay, as this one increases, this one has to decrease. So meaning whatever answer you get, you need to put a negative sign on it, right? So yeah, negative 2,22 to show that you are talking about demand rather than supply. You will see that when you do elasticities of supply, you actually get a positive answer. So if you were to leave your answer as positive, you are telling the marker that you are talking about the elasticity of supply, not the elasticity of demand. So the correct answer is C, not E. The correct answer is C, and it continues to tell you that PED is elastic. So when you now want to interpret what your price elasticity of demand means, you take the absolute value. If it is greater than 1, it is income elastic. So you take the absolute value of this, and this is 2,222. So it is greater than 1. Therefore, it is elastic. So yeah. Okay. Number 12. Okay, we just have number 12. Number 13 is not making sense, so I'm going to skip it. It was actually removed when I was marking my paper. Number 14, assume that a restaurant owner consults you in order to understand the impact of the demand for chips when the price of chicken changes. So we're looking at two products, chips and chicken. If you find out that the price of chicken increases by 6%, so you find out that the price of chicken increases by 6%, the cross elasticity of demand is negative 1,5. Sorry, so for cross elasticities, the sign is what tells you what's happening. So for substitutes, if coffee is more expensive than tea, what are you going to buy more? Going to buy more of tea. So as the price of coffee increases, you will buy less of coffee and buy more of tea. So the quantity of tea will increase. For complements, on the other hand, if the price of sugar increases, if the price of a complement increases, price increases, you'll buy less of tea bags. Okay, let's say tea. So if the price of tea increases, you'll buy less of sugar. So yeah, do you guys see that they are moving in different directions? So this one will have a negative sign, this one will have a positive sign. So this one positive sign, this one negative sign. So for the fact that our cross elasticity of demand is negative, it means that these two goods are complements. So go to your questions and scan complements. Okay, they are talking about complements here. It says consumers view chips and chicken as complements. This is definitely correct. Consumers view chips and chicken as substitutes. That's wrong, because the sign is negative, it is not positive. And then they are talking about percentages. We don't like working, so let's just go to our question and see which answer has II. So the answers that have II is C and D. Okay, so let's see what C is saying. C is saying II and triple I. What is triple I saying? Consumers view chips and chicken as substitutes. We said that was wrong. So the correct answer is what? Is II and IV, without us even doing a calculation. Work smart, not hard, people. Number 15. My video is probably so long. I can't see. Oh my god, it is long. Oh my god. I wanted to finish at like number 20. But anyways, which of the following statements below is or are correct? A linear demand curve has a constant slope and constant elasticity. That is wrong. On the demand curve, you will have different elasticities. Insulin is likely to have perfectly inelastic demand. So this is medication. Whether prices are high or not, if someone needs to leave, they will buy the medication. So they are perfectly inelastic. They won't change based on what price is doing. So this is correct. If they are inelastic, elastic means it's wrong. A linear demand curve has a constant slope. Slope means gradient, so they do have the same slope. If you move from, they are called collinear points. So like if you move from A to B, B to C, you will have the same slope, but a varying elasticity of demand. That's true. To this side, elastic. On the equilibrium, unit elastic. After the equilibrium, inelastic. That's why when you look at where the demand and the supply meets, we only consider this part above the equilibrium because it is elastic. The other part we don't care about because it is inelastic. So the correct answer is II and IV. II and IVB. Okay. Number 16. What is the total market quantity supplied level that corresponds to the price of 40? Okay, so they are giving you two supply curves. What you have to do is to write your points, calculate their individual y is equal to mx plus c, y is equal to mx plus c, right? So you will calculate m using this point and this point, calculate m using this point and this point, and then you'll solve for c and then substitute your price as 40. Okay, and then when you do that, you'll find that b is 40. That's just an exercise for you all. And then we are told that producer surplus is the excess of the amount received from the sale of a good or service over the cost of producing it. We're not sure about this one, so let's leave it for now. Consumer surplus, we will use elimination to know if it's correct. Consumer surplus is the excess of the benefit received from a good over the amount paid for it. This is correct. The market demand curve is also the marginal social benefit curve. That is also correct. If you did not know, please know this. The market supply curve is also the marginal social benefit curve. No, it is actually the marginal social cost curve. So answer that has I and II. So answer that has I and II. We were not sure about answer that has double I and II. This one also has II. So D is correct. Almost there, you guys. I'm sorry the video was long. What happens in a market for a good when binding price ceilings are introduced? So when they are binding price ceilings, so you have this ceiling is always below the equilibrium. So this is supply, this is demand. You guys see that supply was supplying at this point, but with the new price ceiling, they are supplying less. And what happens to the price? It was at this high price, but it will now be at a lower price. So the supply for the good will increase, false. The demand for the good will decrease, false. It will actually increase from this to this. The demand for the good will shift outward. There's no shift. There will be excess supply. No, there'll actually be a shortage. There will be excess demand. Yes, shortage means that you are demanding more than is being supplied. So E. And the last question, use the graph below to answer 20 and 21. Okay, we're only going to answer 20. Assume the government imposes a tax on sellers. So tax on sellers will shift the supply curve, right? So as you guys can see, the supply curve has shifted. Which of the following statements is correct? Before tax on sellers, 5 calculators are bought and sold at a price of 900. So initially, that is when the supply curve has no tax. So supply and demand, this. 5 calculators were sold, 900 Rand, that's correct. Before the tax on sellers, for anything that is telling me everything like before, but they're saying for, incorrect because I already determined it's 5. The buyers will pay the entire tax, incorrect. Buyers pay the entire tax if they are perfectly inelastic if they have a perfectly inelastic demand. Sellers pay the entire tax when they have a perfectly inelastic supply curve. So only I is correct. So the correct answer is A. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video where I'll be doing 20 to 40. It's probably also going to take long because I have to explain along the way. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye, guys.